Hi there, so it's Andy here for Going Nomad, aka Pigs on Bikes, and today I thought I'd do a quick video in reply to an email that I received from a guy called Not Your Average Joe, I think that's his name. His question was, how do you go about giving a demonstration lesson? So, you've moved to Cambodia, or anywhere else, I guess. You've moved somewhere and you've got your first job as a TEFL teacher. We haven't quite got it. You've probably been through the interview process, so you've given your CV to the school and they've probably interviewed you and they've been very happy with you in the interview, and what they want to do is they want to see how good your actual teaching skills are, okay? And a lot of the good schools, a competent school, will not give you the job straight away. They'll want to see your teaching ability, okay, and rightly so. It's the right thing for them to do. And so they'll probably ask you for a demonstration lesson, okay, and Not Your Average Joe has asked me what that involves. Right, so I've only done one. Even though I've worked at two schools, the first school did not ask for a demonstration lesson. They just trusted my ability to go in and to be able to teach, okay, and that was fine, you know, it was easy. The second school, the school that I work at now, asked for a demonstration lesson. Now, there's two possible ways to give a demonstration lesson, and I think that you need to be clear on what kind of lesson you're expected to give before you actually turn up to give the lesson, because that way you can plan accordingly, okay? The first one is where you give a demonstration lesson to adults, to fellow members of staff, or to the people who interview you. And the other one is where you give an actual 30-minute or 45-minute live lesson, or maybe an hour-long live lesson, to actual kids in the classroom. So things that you need to think about there is you will probably give a demonstration lesson. If you're giving it to kids, you'll probably give it to the age range that you are hoping to teach, okay, where the vacancy is at that school. And if that's the case, what you need to do is, I think the best thing to do is to find out what the curriculum is that they want you to teach in that lesson. Now, it may be that they are just going to throw you in and say, give a 30-minute lesson on anything that you choose. But the clever thing there to do is to say, what level are the kids at? What texts are they using? So, like, are there any books? What do they know so far? Are you giving a lesson on something that is new to them, or are you giving a revision lesson, a lesson on something that they already know? The lesson that I gave was a revision lesson. It was coming up for the end of the semester, and they were being prepared for the end of semester tests, okay? So they wanted me to give a revision lesson. So what I found out was, I was teaching English. It was an English lesson that I was supposed to give, and I found out beforehand the level that they were at and the taught language that they expected me to revise or to teach in that lesson. And what they were looking for in my demonstration lesson was they're looking for my ability to walk into the classroom and manage the behaviour in the classroom, and to be able to give an exciting and active lesson with the kids, and at the end of it to show that they had understood the lesson, that they've got something out of it. Now, I had a 45-minute lesson, but I believe the one that Not Your Average Joe is going to give is a 30-minute lesson, which actually isn't very much time. 30 minutes in a classroom really is not very much time at all. And so what I would say is, don't try to deliver too much, but what you need to deliver is appropriate for the age range that you're teaching. And this is where finding out some information about what they already know, their curriculum, and where in the semester or the term time curriculum you're actually at, and that will give you some idea of how much material you need to take into the lesson. For example, when I was teaching K3 may be one 45-minute lesson, may just be 2 pages, 2 simple pages in the course book, and on each page there may only be like 20, may only be like 4 or 5 sentences on each page. And when you first look at it, and you think, wow, I've got to make this last like 45 minutes, I've got to make it last 30 minutes, I've got to make it an hour. Not many demonstration lessons, I don't think it'd be an hour. I think that's too long to ask for you. Well, too long to ask you for. But certainly 30 minutes is more than enough, more than enough, or 45 minutes is more than enough time. But when I was teaching the younger kids, like only 2 pages. When I teach Year 3 and Year 4, and I teach Year 5 at summer school now, we might do 5 pages in a book. So you kind of need to know what level they're at, where they are in their textbooks or their course books, and whether they're classed as being high ability for their age or kind of low ability for their age. So in one school that I was working in, they split the K3 year into the K3A and K3B. K3A was slightly more advanced than the K3B. But I think really what they're looking at is they're looking at you to deliver the taught language, and they're looking for, like, if you've done a TEFL course and you've looked at the 3P course structure, the 3P lesson structure, so it's presentation, practice and production. They're looking for you to present the taught language, looking at you to have a practice activity so the kids can practice the taught language, and a production stage to the lesson. Remembering the TEFL basics, right? The TEFL basics should be that the teacher to pupil talking ratio should be more in favour of the students. The students should be talking more towards the end of the lesson, certainly. At the beginning of the lesson, your presentation of the taught language, like, you're teaching them the taught language, it shouldn't be too much of a percentage of the lesson, and you should do quite a lot of the talking. With the practice stage of the lesson, you should be giving them the chance to practice, and you should be correcting them in their mistakes and helping them do structured practice. So you should be giving them sentences with the taught language in, and letting them use the taught language in a quite rigid and quite structured way. And then at the end of the lesson, they should be talking a lot, and they should be using almost free form the language that you're trying to teach them. But more than anything, you need to demonstrate that you have control of the classroom, and you have classroom management skills, and that your language teaching style is effective. Okay. The things that they don't teach you in TEFL is they don't teach you classroom management. So if you've never taught before, I suggest looking at a few YouTube videos on classroom management. Oh, broken. A few lessons, online YouTube lessons on classroom management. There's several really effective ones out there. In hindsight, what I would do differently that I did in my demonstration lesson to make it easier for myself I would walk in, I would introduce myself, I would say, I come from England, my name is Andy, I'm married, my wife is called Tanya, and I live in Siem Reap, and do you have any questions about me? And you'll be amazed at some of the questions, but keep that time down to just 2 or 3 questions and 5 minutes, no more than that, on a 30-minute lesson. I would then do a simple activity to gauge how good they are, how well disciplined they are in the classroom environment. Simple activity I think I would probably do is just taking a sheet of A4 paper, folding it into quarters so you have a triangle that stands on the desk, and they can write their name on it. And I would share my marker pens. I would use marker pens for that, and I say, right, there's 25 of you, I have 5 marker pens, there's one, every 5 students, there's one marker pen. You know, if you've got tables, there's one marker pen per table. Write it up, and I want you to stand your name tag that you're making. I want you to stand it upright on the table so I know your name, so I can see your name. Okay. During that, you can maybe judge how disciplined they are, and you can probably pick up quite quickly the guys who are understanding, whether you are talking too fast or whether they're actually understanding what you're saying, how good they are at following orders, and also you'll probably be able to see the ones that are slightly naughty and are sort of standing up and running around a bit, and you know, ones who you have to pull back and say, no, come on, focus and discipline. And I think you know, if that's your first demonstration lesson, that's a good first lesson anyway, I think, for people. And before you go into the classroom, also understand the discipline procedure they have in the school. So in every class in my school, they have a traffic light system. They have a yellow card and a red card, and they also have a green card. Yellow card is, I've asked you once or twice, you know, I've asked you to sit down, I've asked you to stop talking. Now I've asked you twice, you haven't stopped talking, so I'm going to give you a yellow card and I'm going to write your name on the board. Yellow card, name on the board. They don't want that. It's embarrassing for them, okay? And the discipline that I use is that if you have a yellow card, you stay 1 minute extra at break time. When everybody else goes, you stay just for 1 minute. Red card is, I've asked you 3 times, you've already got a yellow card, I've asked you 3 times, okay, now I'm going to give you a red card, okay, and then in our school we have, after the red card, we have the behaviour room, which at break time they spend all of their break time in the behaviour room, or if it's lunchtime it's 15 minutes, okay, they definitely don't want that. Red card is 2 minutes at the end of the lesson. So understanding the structure of the school's discipline regime, if you like, can help, because if you do have disruptive students, and there's a good chance on your demonstration lesson you probably won't have that much, because you're a new face and they don't know where they stand with you, and as long as you're confident in delivering and asking them to do things, don't over-explain your reasoning, why you want them to sit down, why you want them to listen. And it can be simple instructions like, whilst teacher is talking, we do not talk. Right, when teacher is talking, you do not talk, you listen, okay? So please sit down and listen, okay? Once you've got that, before you walk into the lesson, you know in the lesson what other teachers are doing with them to help you keep class control. And then once you've figured that kind of stuff out, then it's just straight into the taught language and delivering the taught language. Today we're going to learn about these words. We're going to learn about the whatever level they're at and whatever the curriculum requires you to teach. And then it's just some simple exercises. But what I would do is I would demonstrate that you can have fun, and you can demonstrate that the kids are going to be engaged and they're going to be active. And the best way to do that, I think, is sometimes with a chuck toy. You can split them into groups. You can have a little prize at the end. Maybe even the group who gets the highest marks in the activity, they can go first, just maybe 1 minute early at the end, or they can line up if they have to line up before they leave the classroom, which is a good thing I do with the younger ones to keep some kind of discipline with them. Then the team at the front, the winning team or whatever, they go first. Okay, I don't punish people for being last, so then it's everybody else for going. But the winning team, you know, they can go a minute earlier, they can go stand at the front of the queue, like that. So just some kind of games with them, and so they're not all sitting there, because after 45 minutes of sitting there listening to you just bang on, like, they get fed up with it, and then they start being mischievous. But go in with a lesson plan, try and stick to it as well. If your lesson, and it's quite often this will be the case, your demonstration lesson is the first lesson of the day, be prepared for, particularly in Cambodia, be prepared for a certain percentage of your students to be late for the lesson. So on my demonstration lesson it was 45 minutes, and I got 15 minutes into the lesson, I still only had half the class, okay? And it wasn't always that bad, but like sometimes with the younger kids, you know, it can be, you know, expect that and build that into your lesson plan, okay? So it might be that you want to do a fun activity maybe for the first 5 minutes after you've done the name tag thing, just to let the other students arrive, and they'll be walking in, putting their bags. You say, hi, come on in, you know, you need to put your bag there, please bring your pencil to the table and sit down quietly. And and stuff like that. So you need to find out whether your lesson is going to be at the start of the day or at the start of the afternoon, and whether students are likely to be late or not. And that's okay if they are, it's just part of life. But you can build that into your lesson plan. Try and stick to the times in your demonstration lesson. Show, because there'll be somebody observing you, show that you have a lesson plan, okay? And another thing that I think can be useful, particularly to yourself as a teacher, is to write some key things on the board as you introduce the taught language, and then say, okay, today we're looking at these words, and we're looking at preposition or something like that, and we're going to learn the words, and then we're going to play a game, and then we're going to write something, and then we're going to play another game at the end. And then what you can do for yourself is you can just write some times. Look at the clock, just write some times on the board that you need to be doing those activities by to stick with your lesson plan. Then you can show that you've got the lesson plan. Show that you don't need to keep referring to it because you've practiced it and you know within your own head, like just looking at the clock, where you are in the lesson. Build some time in to each stage in the lesson for contingency should something weird happen, you know, just a minute or so on each stage, so you can accommodate I don't know, somebody falling off their chair and hurting their finger or something like that, you know. So so you show that you've got control over that, and you're preparing for some of the inevitable eventualities that you'll come across whilst teaching. Okay. Cool. I hope that helps. Demonstration lesson is nothing to worry about. It's really quite enjoyable, I think, to do it. The kids are normally really well behaved because they don't know you. Just go back to the basics that you learn in the TEFL, and show that you've done the TEFL course and that you can follow some kind of lesson plan, write your lesson plan, demonstrate it. And if your demonstration lesson runs all the way up to the end of the kids' lessons, so at the end of the lesson you expect the kids to leave the classroom before you, okay, which is kind of normal. What I would do is I would just ask the school how they normally leave the classroom. Do you line them up beforehand so they leave in an orderly fashion, or do you normally just open the door and say, right, off you go, break time? I find some of the older kids you can do that with and it's really fine, and some of the younger kids you need to be a little bit more classroom management with. Yeah, I hope that helps. Please like, share and subscribe. Really appreciate it when people like, and sharing is fantastic, and subscribing is amazing. And email me at goingnomad123@gmail.com, and take care. Stay safe out there. Bye bye.